This large frame home was at the center of a plantation established by George Murrell after he moved with his Cherokee wife Minerva and her family during the period known as the Trail of Tears in 1838 and 1839. Minerva's father, Lewis Ross, was the national treasurer of the Cherokee Nation. The Rosses were a very wealthy and prominent Cherokee family. Furnishings in the home's sitting room reflect their sophistication. This handsome bed was transported on the Trail of Tears. Amanda Pritchett is the historical interpreter for the Murrell home.
They basically used this as a family room and as a summer bedroom also. This was on the ground floor, and they're sleeping in here because it's cooler in here during the summertime.
Much of the furniture, including the horsehair couch, dates back to the 1830s. In the parlor, things were a little more formal. A piano to entertain guests sits here. Mr. Murrell, a prominent businessman in the mercantile industry, went to great lengths to have the home furnished with style. This couch came from Europe.
Was imported from France. It's an Empire style, and it belonged to George Murrell. And as I said, he did a lot of business down in New Orleans and was able to ship a lot of his furniture up the Mississippi River and then up the Arkansas River over here to Fort Gibson, and then he would go to Fort Gibson and pick things up.
It's believed his wife Minerva, with whom he had no children, died of malaria. He then married her sister Amanda, who would bear 6 children. This was their bedroom.
It is a bed that's probably early 1860s. It was cut down actually years and years ago to fit in this house. It was originally 10 feet tall.
Pritchett explains that this home tells the real story of many of the Cherokees who were displaced by the government.
These were the types of homes that they left, when they picked up on the Trail of Tears. A lot of people think that, they were living in teepees or log cabins, and it just wasn't like that. They had homes just like your wealthy southern plantation owners did.
George Murrell picked this location for his plantation because it was prime land. The spring house was built to provide water for the family.
This was their water source. There is an underground spring that runs through the yard here and then empties into Park Hill Creek, which you see down the back there.
Also out back is the smokehouse. Here a fire was always being stoked in order for them to spend days curing their meat. Taking care of all the daily needs to survive on the plantation were many slaves. Some farmed the land, others worked in the kitchen.
By the time of 1860, when there was a slave census done in 1860, he had 40 slaves at that time, and he would have been cooking, and preparing food. The slaves would have been for all 40 slaves, plus the family, plus whatever visitors might be around at that time. So they might be cooking for as many as 50 people on a daily basis.
The slave workers also spun their own cotton. They would then use the yarn to make socks or bedding, which are also on display in the house. One of the larger rooms in the home was the dining room. Here stately furnishings remain. Fine china and a coffee and tea serving set are also original. This home stands as a reminder of the fortitude of the Cherokees, who were forced to travel some 1,200 miles west to start over.
It's really, remarkable how resilient, the Cherokee Nation was, that they could rebuild as quickly as they did after they moved out here, after having lost, a quarter of their population on the removal. And then they were able to move here and within just a few years build a house like this.